Good afternoon, Facebook. Thank you so much for joining us. It's a civilized presence. Just give Facebook 2 minutes to get this video visible to everyone. Thank you so much for joining, and let us know where you're joining us from. Come on in and comment on your city, your country. Where are you coming in from? Welcome. So I am just waiting for this video. All right. Welcome. It's the civilized presence. If you're here, let us know that you are here. Come in and comment in the box below. And Dr. Tiki, could you share this on your page, please?
I don't necessarily know how to do that, but
So I'm going to see what I can do. Just one.
Yeah.
Let's see. Usually it should be a lot easier, but okay. Welcome, guys. Just give us 2 minutes. Okay, perfect. So I have it on your page now, Dr. Tiki. So we're good to go.
Okay.
Welcome, everyone. It's the civilized presence. Thank you so much for making out time to be here, and let us know where you're joining us from. Thank you. It's a Monday afternoon, and how are you doing today? Where are you joining us from? I know Facebook is doing its thing. There's a little bit of a delay these days with Facebook, especially if you're using a different platform to come in. And so as soon as you get here, perfect. Esther, it's good to have you in the house. Ola, it's good to have you in the house. Sandra, thank you so much for making out time to be here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we'll just take a moment and have our commercial video right on the screen while we give people time to kind of jump in. Perfect. Welcome, everyone. It's the civilized presence. Come on in and let us know where you're joining from. And just leave your comments in the box below. And welcome, Chicas. It's good to have you in the house. Thank you so much for making out time to be here. Sandra from Canada, thank you for making out time to be here. Guys, we have a couple of screens that are on. And so if you come in, let me know that you're here, because I might not see you right away. I don't know, Facebook is doing its thing. So please come in and leave a comment in the box below, just so that I can give you a shout out like a VIP that you are. I really appreciate your making out time to be here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Usually we're here every Mondays and Fridays. We started off at 8:30 Eastern time, but of course we had to change our time. So everything is about pivoting now to make it perfect, just because of the pandemic. And I know that at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, most of us are probably still sleeping. So this is why we're here in the afternoon. And so some of you are joining us from Africa, Europe. Please let me know where you're joining us from. Laurie, it's so great to have you here. If you're not directly on my page, I might not see your name right away, but I can see the numbers. And I want you to know that I really do appreciate your making out time to be here. Thank you so much. So if you're here on the watch party, thank you, but I'm not seeing your name. And if you're here on the other screen, thank you so much for making out time to be here. Thank you. It's a civilized presence. So usually we're here every Mondays and Fridays, and the focus of this series really is to help with a conversation that is going to help every one of us to restore civility in our society. And you would agree with me that civility is a lost art right now. There's so much pain in the world. The last couple of weeks, I've been part of different summits who have been teaching people on diversity and inclusion, youth development, and all of that. And you can see what is happening everywhere in the world. Civility is really the only solution. And so this is why we hang out here every Mondays and Fridays. If you're just joining me for the first time, you are welcome. Hello, Ada. It's great to have you in the house. Thank you so much, all of you. So now do me a favor, give us some thumbs up. Please share this video on your page. Invite others to be part of what we're doing. Tag your friends, family, enemies too. They need to hear this message so that things can change. Welcome, Kai. Welcome, Anne. It's good to have you in the house. Thank you so much. Chaka, it's good to have you in the house. Laurie, it's good to have you in the house. Banger, Izzy, it's good to have you in the house. Lisa, it's good to have you in the house. Thank you so much. Just comment in the box below what country you're joining us from. I can see Canada, Nigeria, a lot of Nigerians here. Okay, Ghana, the United States, UK, but if I haven't mentioned your country, just leave it in the comment box below. I really want to know where you're joining us from. And of course, come in and say hello. Give a warm welcome to Dr. Tiki Davis, who is here. He is someone who is so special to us. He's been on the show before, but that was during the World Civility Day. And of course, I had to bring him back because there's so many wonderful things about this leader. And I know that, he inspires me with the work that he's doing. And I know that he's going to do the same for everyone. So all of you, please come on in and let me know where you're joining us from and just kind of give us some thumbs up, give us some hearts, comment. Kechian, it's good to have you. Ada, it's good to have you in the house. Thank you so much for making out time. Now, some of you might have seen the topic of today, maybe not, but I think it's one that is so important and it's going to be helpful for everyone. Dr. Jason, it's good to have you in the house. Thank you so much for making out time to be here. Entrepreneurial resilience during the pandemic. Now, the pandemic has been going on for quite some time. And of course, everyone has had some time, when you had to struggle, felt down, maybe at the beginning of the lockdown, you kind of felt depressed and down or upset. I don't know how you reacted to the lockdown. And however that you reacted, trust me, you were right, because we didn't see it coming, okay? But majority of us, and of course my audience, mostly leaders and entrepreneurs and professionals, and with all the questions that I get every single day, and that's why we had to bring this session for you. And I wanted to make sure that I bring in not just a leader, but a leader who leads by example, and of course who is doing it right, who is getting it right, and still doing it during the pandemic, so that he can share with us his secrets, how he's been working, how this has worked for him, and different tips that we can learn to become a success in this period. Now, if you're just joining me for the first time, of course, the focus I told you of the series is civility, really, civility, leadership, positioning, and that's what we discuss here every day. Some of you have never heard about civility, probably still foreign to you, but civility is focused on positive people's treatment. Apologize earnestly if you have to. You might have to think about it as the golden rule, treating others the way that you want to be treated. So if you're here with us this afternoon, I can assure you that you're going to grab some top nuggets or tips that will help you as soon as you leave the session in your business, in your relationships with people, in just life generally. So please stay on with us. Welcome all of you. Some of you are coming in on the watch party. Thank you so much for making out time to be here. Now, I want you to know that if your comments are in the main video, then I can bring it on the screen. But those who I'm seeing on the other screens, I might not be able to bring it right now, but what I'll do is that I will always read it to our guests. So you are asking, who is our guest for today? Of course, you're sitting on the flyer.
Mm-hmm.
And some of you commented a lot. Everyone is so excited to have him here. His name is Dr. Tiki Davis. And I'm going to share a bit about Dr. Tiki Davis because there's so many things that I can share about him, trust me. But let me give you a bit about it to just kind of set the tone of who we have here. And I want to encourage you to bring in your questions, whatever questions that you have, whether they're life-related, business-related, purpose-related, or you are still on the bench and wondering, should I really make a move? And welcome, Nishat. It's good to have you here from Bangladesh. I was in a session last week, and some of them are here. I'm so excited to have you guys here. Munzuru, it's so great to have you in the house. Thank you so much. I hope I pronounced your name right. If not, I'll try again. But thank you so much for making out time to be here. So our guest today is Dr. Tiki. Dr. Tiki is a dynamic motivational speaker who educates and inspires audience with engaging talks about challenges, perseverance, and triumph. Dr. Tiki candidly reveals unfavorably events he encountered in his life and how the source of much suffering became a driving force to obtain success. Dr. Tiki, when I saw that,
Hmm.
could resonate and connect with that. And I, I mean, for me, it was more like there is hope, you
Yeah.
know. So even if things are not working out from the beginning, that's not an excuse. Uh,
Hmm.
Sit back and not do more. So I just wanted to mention that to you. Uh,
Right.
Dr. Tiki thoroughly and explicitly explains the principle of the Tiki factor, which you're going to learn about today, and how adhering to such principles has a greater propensity in propelling corporations, organizations, small businesses, churches, youth groups, high schools, collegiate athletic teams, and individuals to reach optimal success. Dr. Tiki is very well respected because he's committed to making a difference in the lives of others in his community and, of course, all over the world, not just in his community. He is self-made and he became a millionaire at the age of 35. He has lived in foster homes for much of his early life. At the age of 17, he was a star football player, falsely accused and placed behind bars for a crime he did not commit. In spite of his hardship, Dr. Tiki attended Soul Roads State University in Alpine, Texas, receiving a Bachelor of Arts in 2003 and a Master of Arts in 2005. An outstanding accomplishment for Dr. Tiki was his media appearance, which afforded him the opportunity to serve as an actor. In 2004, he earned a speaking role in the acclaimed motion picture Friday Night Lights. Dr. Tiki has got a friendly disposition and understanding of other people, and this has allowed him to serve as a role model in his community. In fact, he initiates miraculous services for diversified groups and builds optimism and confidence for the future. He always has a love for people and those around him. Through the years, he's become a mentor to boys and young men, telling of his trek through adversity and stressing the potential benefits of positive choices and good judgment. As a result of his mentorship, several of his mentees have attended and graduated from the prestigious collegiate institutions such as Harvard University. Dr. Davis has many profound talents and gifts using engineering experience gained in the West Texas oil field. He started his own successful consulting business. He became a real estate investor, engaged in residential construction, and owned two successful barbecue restaurants. Dr. Tiki continues to revolutionize his business by possessing ingenuity, spirit, and determination, making him one of the greatest entrepreneurs in his lifetime. Now, let me share some of his awards and recognition. 2013 Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award by the Black Chamber of Commerce. 2013 again, he received Distinguished Artisan Man of the Year Award, Community Service by Castanet Social, Civic, and Arts Club in Texas. 2014, he's received Small Business Award by the Office of the Governor and the Texas Workforce Commission. 2018, received the Business Person of the Year Award by the Black Chamber of Commerce. 2019, received the Legends and Living Legends of Permian Basin Award. And then 2019 again, co-author of the Breakthrough book with Johnny Wimbrey, Les Brown, and Nick Holly. In 2019 again, he became a film producer of the Factor film, and that he won an award with that. 2020, recognized as the icon, civility icon, and that's an award by the I Change Nations. Now, ladies and gentlemen, join me to welcome Dr. Tiki to the house. Dr. Tiki, you're welcome in the house.
I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the nice introduction, and it's humble to be here today. Actually, it's my birthday, so I made a commitment. So I want to make sure I held up my end of the deal.
Absolutely, guys. I want to say that it is Dr. Tiki's birthday. So come in the box below and just say a happy birthday for him.
Mhm.
Celebrate him because I really honor Dr. Tiki for making those commitments today.
Oh
Because
yeah.
you know what? I mean, I have done the same thing in the past before. Sometimes on your birthday, you feel like you want to spend it with family or just want to be quiet. But this shows your heart for people.
Mhm.
Pointed, I mean, if you had to just set aside your birthday, put it on one side, just
Mhm.
serve. And so
Right.
this is a true example of servant leadership. So I really do honor you for just for doing that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. So, guys, come on in and say a happy birthday to Dr. Tiki. Come in, and if you want to dance, somersault, do whatever, and make him feel appreciated. Thank you so much. Welcome, Onyinye. It's good to have you. Welcome, Betty Speaks. It's great to have you in the house. Thank you so much for making our time to be here. So, Dr. Tiki, my first question for you would,
Mhm.
what does civility mean to you, anyways? And why do you think that it is so important for us to embrace civility as a lifestyle at this point? Over to you, Dr. Tiki.
Well, the what it means to me is basically is giving back, and truly being a leader is about other people. So if you're in the business of serving other people, it's always a plus for you. So today, really a little bit of my background is I never celebrated my birthday very much growing up because as a kid, you always want the ice cream and the cake. So a lot of times growing up, my mom couldn't even afford the ice cream or the cake. So I would never tell anybody it's my birthday. So when it came up, it was not a big deal to me. I want to make sure I service the community or service the world or whatever I'm trying to do. So it's bigger when you're a civility leader, it's bigger than you. So you got to look at the greater cause of everything.
Oh, this is wonderful. And I have learned something from that. And of course, thank you so much
Hmm.
for sharing
Hmm.
your day with us. What a way to spend your birthday really serving and putting a smile on someone's face. And so, and that really is true civility, being
Right,
selfless, stepping out of your comfort zone. You would want to do some other thing at this time, but you're here to serve. So thank you for making out time. So,
right.
it's going to take me to my next question for you, Dr.
Hmm.
T. Can you share a bit about your story? And I think that would help us to set the tone for the conversation with the questions that are coming. Can you just share a little bit about you?
Okay, I'll share a little bit about my story. I'm a native West Texan, so I live in the state of Texas, a small city outside of Dallas or Houston, someplace like that. But really, growing up, I grew up in very humble beginnings. My mom and my dad didn't have very much formal education. They spend most of their time in and out of prison, and I had to learn to take care of myself at an early age. I
Mm,
remember it was a Spanish couple named the Madrids, and we didn't have very much food. And I remember as a young kid, I used to walk down the street with a bowl and a spoon to go get Fruit Loops and tortilla and beans and things like that because my mom didn't really have food. So at an early age, I, when most kids were learning to do reading and writing in school, I was always in survival mode to go to the neighbor's house, not to borrow sugar or a cup of sugar so mom can cook. I was actually going there to eat.
yeah.
So I never really had my own place to call home or a dinner on the table every night. So I've been struggling as a young kid for a long time. And so at the age of 9 years old, um, I was home alone and my mom had just robbed a gentleman for all his money. And I was there waiting on my brother to come from the neighbor's house that was playing video games, and I heard footsteps in the hallway, and I'm thinking it's my brother, and I'm
Mm,
thinking it may be my mom coming home early, but it was this man that I never seen before, and he was there to get revenge on my mother for her robbing him. And eventually he grabbed me, wrapped the bandana around my neck, and stabbed me in the neck with a screwdriver and
mm,
left me for dead. So that was kind of some of my upbringing early on at 9 years old. Just imagine being stabbed in the neck.
yes.
So if I would have laid there in the blood or just gave up right there, nobody would ever heard of me.
Mm,
Or so right there, I looked at it as a way of God leaving me on this earth for a greater purpose. So I believed that I needed to serve my community. But at that time, I didn't know what I was here to do.
yes.
Uh, I didn't know my life was in danger. I didn't know why this man was really attacking me until I knew my mom's history. But my love for my mother, I never really even told the truth of what happened until a few years later, until I started writing my autobiography.
Mm,
So just look at it as very humble beginnings, very poor, very meager. Nobody was paying attention to you or your family because you wasn't on the radar.
mm,
You wasn't on the radar. Or whenever I almost lost my life, it was expected because the life that my mom lived. So a lot of times when you're a kid, you follow the identity of your parents because you don't have your own. So the identity of my mom and my dad was, this kid's going to be a loser.
mm,
And as I got older, I tried to break the mold of that. So at the age of 11 or 12, I was basically on my own, taking care of myself, working a job every day after school, selling candy door to door for an organization called the West Texas Teens. So I would go knock on this door, get on my hands and knees or on a knee and get a product and sell boxes of candy. So each box of candy that I sold, I would get a dollar bill.
mm.
So every day after school, I would sell anywhere from 15 to 20 boxes of candy. And that was my first entrepreneur spirit where I could kind of count the money. So I had a goal for myself every day after school. I would try to earn at least $20. So in a 5-day work week or on the weekends, I would do Monday through Friday. I would try to earn $100. So I've been working as an entrepreneur for a very long time, from 11 to 12. So I kind of know how to earn an honest dollar. So I believe I'm an expert in that area.
Mm,
And then when I was 17, I got in trouble. Found myself in jail for a little while for something I didn't do. And I had a visitor, and the visitor in jail was my mother. And the twist to this story is she was incarcerated at the same time I was.
mm.
And she was on her way for to prison for attempted murder on a man. And so she couldn't really help me because she was trying to help herself. She was a young mother and still trying to figure out her own life.
Yes.
And that's just a little bit of it, and I can give a little bit more here in a little bit. But as I just kept on working, and eventually I served 6 months in jail in the middle of my senior year. So I started my senior year of high school inside the county jail.
Right.
So the first goal that I ever had in my life was to be the first person in my family to graduate high school.
Mm,
But a lot of people knew how important that goal was to me. So the teachers from my high school came to the jail. So I would have high school every day at the jails because they want to make sure I graduated. That's how great the community was that rallied behind me in spite of the circumstances that I was dealing with. So a few teachers and the school board, they allowed this to happen. So I had school every day my senior year in school.
mm,
So whenever the newspaper article came out on the graduates of 1997, my name was aligned with the other graduates. So I still completed my goal in spite of being locked up for a crime I didn't do.
mm.
And then so when I get out of jail, I don't have any football scholarships or anything waiting on me.
Yes.
No, no, nobody really wanted me anymore because people viewed me by the past or what I was accused of. So I didn't have anywhere to go.
Mhm,
So I found myself working at a local dealership washing cars for minimum wage. And the owner of the dealership found out I was working for him and he wanted to help.
mm,
And the help he gave me was sending me to college. And the deal was, if I graduate and I passed all my classes, he
mm,
would pay the bill.
mm.
And once I graduated, I was going to come back and work for him. So he invested in me in order to be an investment in him in the future.
Yes.
But you can ask me a couple more questions and I will bounce back and forth.
Absolutely. This is, and of course, thank you so much for sharing that because
Mhm.
I want the audience to say, because sometimes when we talk about, you know, getting to greatness from nothing,
Mhm.
people kind of think that, oh, there's another story to it. I mean, I believe
Mhm.
that there must have been some money sitting somewhere and all of that.
Mhm.
And I wanted us to kind of paint the picture to
Right.
how determination and
Mhm.
resilience and persistence in the midst of all of those struggles is
Mhm.
what got you to where you are today. Uh,
Right.
so it's not like there was any backup, funds and all of that sitting somewhere, pick it up and go. but really building from the scratch. And that's something that I'm so excited that we have a lot of young people as well on
Right.
this call, a lot of young leaders, because this is something that I believe that everyone needs to learn this.
Right.
Everyone needs to learn how to create from nothing. You know,
Right.
sometimes we have the belief system that, oh, I need to have funds to become an entrepreneur. I need to have somebody who believes in me. Because sometimes no one is going to believe in you. You
Right.
have to believe in yourself. That's the first thing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so that's why I want us to paint that picture. So, of course, my next question for you would be, so
Mm-hmm.
what kind of global impacts do you believe your story could have on the world, especially with the next generation
Mm-hmm.
leaders right now? Over to you.
Well, the next generation, well, the impact that my story can have on the world is that never give up.
Yes.
In spite of everything that ever happened to me, the key to my success is I never gave up. No
Okay.
matter what anyone said, no matter the whispers when you walked out the door, if you believe in you, it doesn't matter what no one else thinks.
Yes.
What I did, it was always believe in myself, regardless of the circumstances,
Mm.
regardless of the odds, because my life was the odds were against me. The hand that I was dealt was a losing hand, for
Mhm.
sure, for sure. So we're playing poker, they're gonna bluff. So I was playing poker, I was always bluffing my hand. So people really didn't know what I had, but they were just looking at the surroundings.
Yes.
And by the surroundings or the circumstances or the stock that I came from, what I mean by stock is the family, my mother, my father,
Yes.
and it was a losing hand. So the message that I can have to the young people around the world in different countries and continents and different places is just to never give up.
Wow.
That's the key. To sum it all up is never give up in spite of your circumstances. Like you just said, I didn't have a pot of gold waiting on me. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have a resources. I didn't have when I graduated. When I turned 16, I didn't have a car waiting on me. I didn't have anything waiting on me. I
Mm-hmm.
had to earn it. Now I did have help along the way, and I'll go back in my story a little bit. When I was about 13, 14 years old, I was taken in by a white family.
Mm.
A white family. So I was adopted by a white family, and the family didn't have very much money. So it wasn't like The Blind Side or anything like this that I was saved by the white people or anything like that. They gave me shelter. They offered me a room. My stepfather, his name is Sam Watts, and my stepmother, her name is Joyce Watts. They had
Mm.
an extra room in their house. My stepmother worked at a convenience store making maybe $10 an hour,
Mm.
and my stepfather was a used car salesman. That was the dealership that I worked at washing cars.
Yes.
And so they were good people, but what they gave me is something that money can't buy. They gave me love and an opportunity
Mm.
to be a young man, to be a student, to be a kid where I wasn't worried about shelter anymore.
Yes.
But the thing about it is, even when I was released from jail, I went to live with them. And my stepfather, Sam, told me, he says, Tiki, I could have bailed you out,
Mm.
but that wouldn't have made you who you are today.
Word today. Yes.
So my to answer the question, to just really answer, is just basically to the young people, entrepreneurs, people that's in a bad place right now, is just don't give up and continue to believe in yourself.
Wow, this is so powerful, guys. If you're just joining us for the first time, it's the Civilized Presence. You're definitely in the right place at the right time. We're here every Mondays and Fridays, and the conversation today is entrepreneurial resilience during
Hmm.
the pandemic. And I have the best of the best in the house, Dr. Tiki Davids. He is a success, trust me.
Hmm.
And so I brought him here to share with us all the tips and strategies and how has this worked for him, so
Hmm.
that we can learn something. Because I imagine that right now with the pandemic, there are some times that you just want to throw in the towel. It's just like, I'm
Right.
done, I'm done, I'm done. I don't want to do it anymore. But this is the new normal, guys. There's no way,
Hmm.
there is no running away from what you're supposed to do. It's
Hmm.
going to be hard, it's going to be difficult. And of course, a lot of young people who are joining me here from Bangladesh today, from Malaysia. Welcome. I can see all of you just coming in. It makes me smile. Thank you so much for joining us for this session.
Hmm.
When you do not have anyone supporting you, Dr. Tiki says, never
Right.
give up. It's never going to be easy, but never give up. So I'm going to take a moment and just go back to those who are jumping in and welcome Oyima. It's good to have you. Welcome, Misty. It's good to have you, Dr. Ira. Thank you so much, Julie. Thank you for joining us, Onyinye. Thank you so much for joining us, Nishat. It's good to have you in the house. Thank you so much for joining us, Jerry. Emwet, it's good to have you. Takara, it's good to have you. If I haven't mentioned your name, that's just because you're probably not directly on my page. But I want you to know that I really do appreciate you so much and I love you. It's
Right.
important that I let you know that because I know this period has been so bad. And so sometimes you just need someone to say, I love you. And I really do appreciate you making out time to be here. So we're going to take another question with you.
Okay.
Okay. I'm really enjoying this and I'm learning. It's giving me hope as
Right.
well.
Right.
And I see that you have so many businesses right now.
Mhm. Mhm.
You have, you've been very successful with the construction company, with the real estate, with the restaurant. I was thinking, like, the restaurant, I would have loved to have a burger, but
Mhm.
sometime
Yeah.
very soon. So
Right.
how has this been?
Mhm.
How were you able to build all of this within such a short period of time? Over to you, Dr. Tiki.
Right. The thing about it, it didn't happen overnight. A lot of people that's getting to know me or paying attention now that I'm the age that I am, it never happened overnight. I've been developing this skill for a lifetime.
Mm,
The survival. A lot of people's not able to adjust and make the necessary adjustments right now. Why can't they do it? It's because they're one dimensional.
mm,
That they're one dimensional. Me, I've never been one dimensional.
mm,
So I'm real versatile. The reason we can do restaurants or real estate or consulting or speaking because that's who I am.
right.
I'm a chameleon. I can do everything or anything I set my mind to it. No
Mm,
one can tell me any different because I'm proven. The reason I'm proven is because I did the work.
mm,
And so when I come in and say, "Hey, am I a builder?" Yes, we can build a house. Just like the TV show, how I got into real estate, just like anybody else, I was sitting watching Flip This House on TV.
wow.
And so I was like, man, I can do that.
Mm,
And so all I had to do is, like you said, the golden rule is treat people the way they want to be treated.
exactly.
But I have a Tiki Factor golden rule. And
Yeah.
my golden rule is he who has the goal makes the rules.
Mm,
So
mm,
once I attained the goal was currency and money, I started investing in myself.
mm,
So I didn't want to be one dimensional, one streamlined. So like when the pandemic hit, like a lot of people started to panic in different things, or they might got couldn't work from home or got laid off from the job cutbacks. I didn't panic because I knew I had multiple streams of income.
mm,
But
mm,
just like everybody, I was affected just like everybody else was, but I wasn't dependent on one source.
right.
So the thing about it is don't be one dimensional. And I became successful in a lot of different things, but I failed my way to success.
Mm,
So a lot of the failures and the heart pain, a lot of time that's not highlighted, but I started at the bottom with nothing.
mm,
Like my earliest jobs that I had was emptying trash from elderly ladies on
mm,
Sunday mornings because I wasn't able to go to church because a lot of people, even the preacher at that time, thought I was such a bad kid.
mm,
He didn't even want me at church. So
mm,
I stayed at home with my grandmother, emptying trash and sweeping floors and different things like that for the old ladies that couldn't go to church neither. So I always bonded with people that was older than me.
wow.
And so with that came was wisdom because they I would listen to them talk.
Yes.
And so I was a young boy, but I was getting the wisdom from the people that came before me. And it wasn't one generation before me, it was maybe 4 or 5 generations for me. So I learned the history of my community. I
Wow.
learned what was key, what was important, what not to do, what to do. And
Mm,
I paid attention and like mother's wit. So I was a young boy, but my life experience was greater. So I
mm,
had the knowledge and
mm,
I knew it was going to take more than one stream of income. A lot of people are going around talking about 10x. I was doing that at 10 years old.
mm,
I was doing that at 10 years old. So now that we look at today that I'm 42, I've been independent for 30 years.
wow.
A real 30 years. So overnight when I do business, it's just like second nature. If I see an opportunity, I move on it quick because I just understand good deals. And sometimes they're bad, but you got to take the risk to succeed.
Yes.
You got to take the risk because, well, let me just give you back. Say for instance, you might see me post different things. Okay, one day he's selling barbecue, the next day he's speaking, the next day he's doing real estate, and you might hear somebody says, "Man, you do all that?" Absolutely. Why question what a young black man is doing? You don't question Bill Gates. You don't question Mark Cuban. You don't question Jerry Jones. You
Mm,
don't catch these billionaire guys that's doing multiple things because why? It's because they're billionaires or they're super successful. In order to get that level, you got to practice those principles.
wow, wow.
And so with me was it was like try everything and become good at it. Why you hear my story of the young black man in West Texas that got good in oil and gas. The reason I was able to succeed in oil and gas because I adapted to my environment. That's what everybody was doing, but it was no black man doing it, but me.
Mm,
At the level I was doing it at, in the position that I had, I was the only one. I was the only one that was doing what I was doing. So it didn't feel I wouldn't say unnatural to me because I was used to always being the only one.
mm,
I was used to always being the only one. So things that happened to me, I didn't strive to be the best. Like a lot of people teaching their kids and everybody's listening, this is a teaching moment. This is key. I don't teach my daughter to be the best. I teach her to be the only.
woo! This is good.
So so
Wow,
so so you can have anybody playing basketball say he's the best basketball player to do
wow,
something,
wow,
or the best football player to do something, or the best engineer to do something. But when you go reinvent the wheel,
wow.
be the only.
The
And
only,
once you be the only, you're gonna always stand out. So now that I'm stepping into this speaking world and the producer role, I'm gonna be the only do
mm,
what ain't never been done before.
oh, this is so good. This is so good, Dr. Tiki.
Hmm.
So good. The
Hmm.
only is number one.
Yeah.
This is something that I learned over the years that
Hmm.
nobody competes with a number one. I mean,
Right.
what are you bothering to be a number two? You are the
Right.
only oh my goodness, this is so good. Everyone is so excited about this. I mean, the
Right.
conversation going on in the on
Right.
my the screens, and welcome Coach ID. Two
Hmm.
Coach IDs are from John Maxwell team. It's good to have you in the house.
Hmm.
And please, if you're just joining us here, it's the Civilized Presence. The
Hmm.
conversation is really hot. So do me a favor. If you have a question, please post it. I saw that someone was asking if they could post a question. Please go ahead and post your questions
Hmm.
because the expert is in the house. And we have a question for you right now
All
from
right.
Mia. She said, certain industries are worst hit. The advertising industry is an example.
Hmm.
Does Dr. Tiki suggest that by being multidimensional, we
Hmm.
look out for other business opportunities during the pandemic? Happy
Hmm.
birthday, Dr. Tiki. Over to you. That's a question
Well,
for you, Dr.
I
Tiki.
don't know if I heard the question correctly, but the reason, like the thing, what I like to say is pivot in the pandemic. So
That's right.
right now, a lot of us having time at home or working from home, so you got time to prepare. So if you come out of this pandemic not prepared, that's your own fault.
Yes.
So if it's advertising dollars or whatever, you want somebody else to promote you, then it's not nobody else's job to save you.
Mm,
It's not nobody else's job to save you, so you must save yourself. You got to make yourself a viable asset, a viable commodity. Just like you go into the grocery store and you go to the produce section, and you're looking at the tomatoes, the cabbage, or the vegetables, or the watermelons, or whatever you're looking at, cantaloupes. The gardener prepared it and grew it, and then the grocery store bought it to put it out there to sell. So
yeah.
when you go out there, the advertising has already been done, but if they didn't groom it right or make it appealing to your eye, you're not going to buy it. So at that point it has to sell itself. So if you're not grooming yourself to make yourself fruitful
Yes.
when you come out of this pandemic, it's your own fault. So you can't look at your husband, you can't look at your friend, you can't look at your employer. It's your responsibility to make yourself better and make yourself a viable asset to be fruitful for somebody who wants to buy you.
Wow. This is good. And you know, when you talked about the
Hmm.
only cannot be replaced.
No, no. Well, because here's the deal. Say for instance, say here's the instance like John Lewis just passed away, right?
Yes.
And they're having his funeral.
Mm-hmm.
and they're walking him across the bridge where he marched with Dr. King and Selma, right? They're reenacting his life. The
Yes,
reason it's such a big deal because he was the only person to do what he did.
that's true.
You see what I'm saying? So my legacy around the world is I strive to be a John Lewis, to be the only.
Mm,
I strive to be so great whenever I die, it's gonna be like Tiki Davis was the only person to do this.
yes.
The reason why my story is so powerful, I've already did my homework and I've studied every like stories. For what I've done in my life, I'm the only person in the world to do it.
Mm, this is
You know, that's true. It's not because I've done the work.
this is
Like I never knew a guy that came from
yes.
the south side of Odessa, humble beginnings, that had his first dream. My first dream that I ever had in my life was to be a football player.
Mm,
Because the city that I'm from is known for football and oil and crime. So you have to make a pick. What are you going to be? Are you going to be that football player, that oil man, or crime?
mm,
So what was all around me was crime.
mm.
But I want to be that football player because that's what everybody was doing. And I didn't really understand crime, but as a kid, you understand playing games.
Yes.
So the first dream that I had was taken away at 17.
Mm,
The first dream that I had was taken away at 17. So then I had to make a pandemic, mean pivot in the pandemic. I got something else. Here it is. It just came to my head. My whole life was a pandemic.
woo,
My whole life was a pandemic. So growing up, just imagine like when the pandemic hit the world at 17, the pandemic hit my life. When I was a star football player, finding myself in jail. So you heard that story before, but
yes.
you never heard that same 17-year-old boy make multi-millions of dollars in
Wow.
something else other than athletics.
Yes. Yes.
And I made it in a predominantly white business of oil and gas.
Mm,
I work for the top independent oil man in the world.
mm.
And I ran a $1 billion company, a real $1 billion company, not make believe money. But I'm not saying that for everybody to look at me, but I'm just telling you what I was able to do when I pivoted my life from the humble beginnings.
That's true.
Coming from a mother and a father that went to the fifth grade.
Mm,
Daddy went to the fifth grade, mother went to the 10th grade.
mm,
Um, you're talking to a kid that at 18 years old was washing cars for minimum wage for 2 years.
mm,
Get an opportunity to go to college at 20. And this is another thing that I like to say at accomplishment. I didn't never go to college to graduate.
mm.
I went to college to go to the pros
Wow.
because I could play football. So I went to college,
Yes.
even though the guy sent me there to educate and he was more experienced. Like, hey, I'm gonna send you to college to get educated because you're gonna need that later in life. I'm thinking to him, you crazy. I'm going to college to go to the pros so I can play for the Dallas Cowboys. But
Yes.
little but little did I know, not playing football for 4 years, my best years were behind me.
Wow.
But another accomplishment that I was thinking about the other day was when I went to college after sitting out of playing football for 4 years. I
Mm.
went to college without playing, and my first 10 college football games I started without playing the game for 4 years.
Wow.
So to me, that was an accomplishment within myself.
Mm, mm. This is so good. Dr. T,
Mhm.
wonderful. And thank you so much, everyone who is just jumping in. We have a lot of
Mhm.
comments here. And
Mhm.
we do have a question. Welcome.
Mhm.
It's good to have you. A question from Munzuru from Bangladesh. He-
Okay.
How can we focus on a certain goal till we
Mhm.
achieve it?
What was that? Running by me again? The question?
How can we focus on a certain goal till we achieve it?
Well, you gotta don't focus on the whole goal. Don't focus on the end goal. Focus on a couple small goals. So if you say in 5 years I want to be a millionaire, right?
Yes.
So focus on where you at right now. So say, all right, in 6 months I want to have $10,000 saved up. Or in a year I want to have $20,000 saved up. Or
Yes.
I want a promotion in this job. So set a lot of small goals
Right.
versus one big goal, because it's easy to hit a 2 month goal versus it's easy to hit a 1 year goal.
Yeah.
So make them smaller.
Wow, this is really good. Welcome, Dr. Matthias. It's good to have you in the house. Thank
Hmm.
you so much, all of you, for joining us. It's the Civilized Presence, and the conversation continues on entrepreneurial resilience during the pandemic. And I
Hmm.
love that you talked about, Dr. Tiki, that your life has always been a pandemic, and I
Hmm.
not just you, every one of us.
Hmm.
I think sometimes we fail to recognize when those things happen. And
Hmm.
for you, one of the lessons that I've learned from you is that at every phase in your life, there was a lesson for you to learn. I
Hmm.
stayed on, grabbed the lesson, and moved on to the next big thing.
Right.
Now, I'm going to ask another question here. Having multiple businesses like the
Hmm.
restaurant, construction business, being a film director and all of that,
Hmm.
how
Hmm.
do you get to become the only, for example? And that's where I'm driving at, because sometimes
Hmm.
we set this big goal, but we do not want to do everything that is required to bring that goal to fruition.
Right. The really the goal was to be successful.
Yes.
So once you start having a little bit of success, you start to venture out in different things. So if the goal was always success, you tried different things. And if you put yourself in a position, you had the resources to try other things. And
Yes.
once you make a certain amount of resources or currency or money, you can try different things. And sometimes the things are not going to work, but you can recover. So
Mm.
everybody has a different level of risk because everybody know their own situation. So me knowing my own situation, I sometimes it was risk reward. So I tried different things, and it always didn't work. And a lot of times I lost. I lost a lot, and I lost big. And so it it was just taking the chance. So to be the only in something, you gotta not set a bar. So a
Mm.
lot of times, like say for instance, you come from a good family or a good stock or a good community, or if your mom was a teacher, so chances are you might be a teacher. Or if your dad was a stockbroker, chances are you're gonna be a stockbroker.
Right.
Me, I had no outline to
Mm.
compete with. I had no family tree to
Mm.
be positive to be what my parents were or people in my community was. So basically the reason I was able to do the things I was is just I tried everything because I had no ceiling. I had like, okay, you made it. So I never even looked at myself as making it. It was always to the next thing. I get bored real easily. So I was always trying different things to, just to keep the competitive nature or being success,
Yes.
uh, to just be the next thing. So like I didn't really know how to answer that question, so to speak, but that was just me. That's the hunger for something new, not being complacent.
I think that you answered it in a great way, because
Mhm.
that's some of the mistakes that we make, is
Mhm.
that we set this one goal and we're stuck on that one goal. And so if anything comes up, if we face challenges, we give up. It's
Mhm.
like it's not working. But
Right.
when you said, have one big goal, of course, have tiny other goals
Mhm.
you're pursuing, because the big goal is to become successful, but you're ready to do other things and you're open to doing other things. Now, before I get to my question about what we should be doing during this pandemic, let's
Mhm.
talk about your faith, because I think
Mhm.
that's something that I really inspires me about you is
Mhm.
that your faith is the foundation and
Mhm.
to your success. Let's talk a bit about your faith. So, can you share a bit about that?
I always believed in God. Now, I wouldn't say I'm the most religious person, but I'm very spiritual.
Yes.
So I always have a connection with God in some ways. Even if I'm doing something wrong, I might drive by. If I'm getting ready to do something wrong I'm not supposed to do, or a thought that I'm having, it seemed like God against my attention. So I'll be driving down the street and I'll look to the left and I'll see a church.
Yes.
Or I'll drive by, or something else, I'm having a bad thought or a good thought or whatever, I'll drive by a funeral home because sin is death. So it's
Yes.
different things that I recognize that God gets my attention, different things, because I'm not here without the blessing and the mercy of God.
Yes.
And a lot of times people get it mixed up because God gave breath to men. So
Mm.
I'm here because of God gave me a second chance, not because I deserve it, because I don't. It's because God made my name great. Just like Abraham, God made Abraham name great. God did the same thing for me.
Mm.
So when I was falsely accused, eventually, 23 years later, I go back to courts and my name is clean. The charges was dropped because the person that accused me came forward and said, "Hey, it didn't happen."
Wow.
So that was my faith, because I'm not going off of a guy on TV, a
Yeah.
preacher or Billy Graham or anybody like that falling out and talking in tongues. I don't need them to show me what God can do, because I've seen firsthand what God's done in my own life. So I'm speaking from experience. I'm speaking from that 9-year-old boy with the screwdriver in his neck. I'm speaking from that 17-year-old boy in that jail cell. I'm speaking to that 18-year-old boy washing cars. I'm speaking to that 21-year-old or that 24-year-old that's burying his mother that was murdered in prison. I'm speaking from that first generation college graduate. I'm speaking from that 25-year-old master's degree graduate. I'm talking to that world stability leader, PhD, Dr. Davis. I've seen what God has done in my life firsthand. So when I tell somebody about the faith or the belief in God, I'm not speaking on hearsay. I'm speaking fact. I'm speaking FACT, facts. You
Wow.
know.
Wow. This is so powerful, and thank you so much for sharing that.
Hmm.
And of course, Coach ID, is so good to have you, two Coach IDs in the house, and a lot
Right.
of great comments here
Hmm.
from the audience. Everyone is enjoying this conversation. So this is going
Hmm.
to take me to my next question for you.
Hmm.
You have had a lot of recognition. I mean, recently,
Hmm.
the Black Lives Matter, you
Hmm.
invited to the White House to talk about.
Hmm.
So my question for you would be, what do
Hmm.
you think about the whole, I don't really want to say Black Lives Matter, but I want to say, diversity. And why is it so important that we pay attention now more than ever before? Over to you, Dr. Tiki.
Well, the reason right now is Black Lives Matter, because those are the people that's been murdered. Is
Yes.
is like unarmed black men. So
Mm,
we've got to get that under control. That can't continue to happen. But I've been thinking about this question in particular because I knew it was coming, and
yeah.
I prepared. I've been thinking about different people has asked me different things. What's the solution? I got the solution to the problem.
Mm,
Everybody listen, I got the solution to how we can cut down on unarmed black men being murdered by police officers or anybody.
yes.
And this is, write this down because this is key. This is gonna help everybody. Everybody do this, and this is gonna save us.
Mm,
Every person in your family, if you have a son or a daughter or a husband or a cousin or a family member, anything, if their life's important to you and their life matter, black, white, purple, green, this is what you do. This is how we can get this under control. You go out and put life insurance on your loved one.
mm,
You put life insurance on your young son, your daughter, or whatever. For whatever reason, they don't make it home at night and they're murdered by the hands of men in uniform or in a car accident or anything. You put life insurance on them.
mm,
The insurance company is going to have to start paying out those premiums, and not
mm.
500. I'm talking about $1 million policies,
That's true.
whole life policies on the life of your loved one.
That's true.
So if they get murdered by any chance, not make it home by any reason, these insurance companies start paying out these $1 million premiums.
They're gonna stop.
No, that's not. They're not going to stop. What they're going to do is they're going to be the advocate for the
They're
police
gonna
officers to
support,
stop
like,
shooting people. So when you start affecting the bottom line, when you start affecting the bottom line of these insurance companies, they're going to say, man, your police officers or whatever got to stop killing these unarmed black men or these people, because we're paying out millions and millions of dollars
exactly.
for the murders. So you're not going to have a Black Lives Matter movement. You're not going to have the protesting, because the corporate America, the institutions are going to be doing all that. They're going to be like, hey, this has to stop.
That's
And
true.
once it starts affecting the bottom line, it's going to stop at that point.
This is so good. This is so good. I never thought about it that way. Of course, thank you so much for sharing
Right.
this.
So whenever you're waiting on the insurance company to pay out, and then if you decide to sue someone while you're waiting on that money, because understand, let's just put it this way: there's no amount of money that can replace human life.
No, not at all.
But if some reason somebody don't make it home, and you have a life policy on their life, you're not worried about some celebrity, Floyd Mayweather, paying for George Floyd's funeral. You're not waiting on the handout. You're
Yeah.
prepared for the unthinkable,
Yes.
the nightmare, but you can handle it Because say if a father that's don't make it home and he has a wife and kids. So if
Mm,
he have a policy on his hand and he don't make it home for some reason, his family's taken care of, his
yeah,
funeral's taken care of, and then when you're going after the criminal justice system or the unjust that may happen,
yeah,
that's a plus.
yes.
So just like in the NFL right now, they were protesting the Kaepernick kneeling
Mm,
for years and years, but now that we're in the time of the Black Lives Matter, the NFL have jumped on board with the players because now they hear the voice. Why do they hear the voice now? Because it's corporate dollars, it's money. So so the athlete has spoken. You don't have an NFL without the athletes, but you don't have an NFL without the owners. So now it's big business, it's big money. So money rules the world. It's not really race or
yeah.
anything. It's money, it's corporation, it's corporate dollars. So when people understand money rules the world, not color, not anything, it's money.
This is so good. I mean, I love this. Everyone is so excited and just
Mhm.
laughing.
Mhm.
'Cause I think this is the truth. This is the truth.
Mhm.
It's going to be very helpful.
Mhm.
That way, we don't have to be struggling making protests. Everyone is going to be part of it. Everyone
Mhm.
will advocate for us, and we'll get the message. We'll be able to drive the message down the right way. So, thank
Right.
you so much. And this is going to take me to my next question for you, Dr.
Mhm.
You've done quite a number of work with Les Brown. Can you
Mhm.
share with us about all of that journey and what's coming up? Because it looks like there's so much around you. What's the next step, and what are you doing with Les?
Okay. Well, I'm not doing much with Les Brown anymore, but I hire Les Brown as my coach. So a lot of young speakers getting into the business, they work with Les Brown because Les Brown was one of the first minority speakers around the world and arguably one of the best speakers of a lifetime.
Mm,
So when I had an opportunity to hear Les speak and go to one of his conferences to see how great he was, and he always said, "You have greatness in you," and I felt like I had greatness in me.
mm,
And so I approached him and I shared my story with his assistant, and they shared the story with Mr. Brown. And I went to him and I said, "I have greatness in me." He says, "I know all about you. I know who you are."
mm,
And so I told him I want to work with him. He says, "I want to work with you too."
mm.
So I traveled with Mr. Brown around the world and performed on stages, but a lot of times I was a student. I was
Yeah,
a student of this business. And a lot of stuff with Mr. Brown wasn't the watching him on stage perform. It was behind the scenes preparing the radio station interviews, driving in the car, him talking about his experience with Michael Jackson and Jim Brown and Muhammad Ali, even with President Trump, the different things he would talk about that when they would speak together. And that was the lesson behind the scenes that a lot of people don't have the privilege to do. So I got to know Les Brown on a personal level. So once you know the man, that's what I was paying for, was the one-on-one intimate conversations to learn the business, because anybody can go on stage and deliver a keynote and hit your points and go off a scripted speech that you're going to do over and over again. But what I
mm,
learned with Mr. Brown is he says, know your audience, know the surrounding. Like every city you go to, always buy a newspaper. And I says, why do you need to buy a newspaper? He says, for instance, he says, one time I was speaking in a city and I always had my same material. And he said, I was getting a bit lazy at this time in my career.
right.
And I come in with a punchline joke and it was about a shark.
Mm,
And and I was like, why no one laughed at my joke if it fell flat? He said the reason the joke fell flat because I was ill prepared. It was
yeah,
a young girl that was with her father on the beach and just got her arm bit off by a shark.
yes.
He says, and that's by not knowing your audience or the community that you're in or the city you in. You got to know what's going on current events so you don't shoot yourself in the foot.
Wow.
So those were the things that I learned from Mr. Brown. Wasn't so much the stuff that he did on stage, because no one can organically teach you how to share your message with the
Yeah,
world. You got to kind of work on that yourself because it's uniquely yours.
yes.
And so what I got from him was basically preparing, knowing your material. If you go on a radio station, you don't beeline out of there. You shake everybody's hand from the cameraman to the person giving the interview.
Right. Right.
Why is that important? He says, this is important because that person might go work at another station in another city. Or if a person that was doing the interview had 25 years experience, they know somebody else in the industry that has that much experience. So he says, Tiki, so say for instance, you come back to this city without me and you're headlining, you're going to have the relationship with this person directly. Say, hey, Tiki's coming in town. Can I get radio play? Or can I come and do my own interview? The relationship. And what he calls it is relationship capital.
Right.
So
Good.
you got to have great relationship capital. So that's what I learned from Les Brown when you're in this world of speaking or anything is know your material, be prepared, and relationships are the key to success.
This is so good. Relationship capital. That is so good. Can someone put that in the comment below? Just
Hmm.
for those who are going to be watching later on. And we have another question uh,
Hmm.
from the audience, from Zero. It said,
Hmm.
how can you control, or how do you control your nerve when a situation is not in your hands? That's
Well,
how you put it.
the thing about it, the situation is never in our hands.
Mm,
The situation is never in our hands. We only can control what we can control.
that's,
So, like this pandemic, this world, we can't control that narrative. We don't even know because it's something new, something that we have never seen before. So, once you think you're in control, you've lost already.
mm,
So, what I would tell you is, just pray and work
mm,
and have hope because no one knows the future, so it's never in our hands. So we all get a little nervous, but
yes,
just don't panic.
yes. Oh, this is good. Manzuro, I hope that was helpful for you because I still have a few questions with Dr. Tiki. And guys, if you have a question and you want him to answer, please comment in the box below. He's right here. You don't want to bring the questions when Dr. Tiki is gone because I might not have the answer for you. So
Right.
bring questions right now. And, a comment here from Coach Heidi says the nugget from this interview is gold.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Dr. Tiki, this
Thank
is
you.
wonderful
Well,
because I'm going to have to watch this video again. And you have really, it's like, we need this fire. It's like be
well,
one, the only voice.
I'm warming up now, so let's. But you got a next question?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
My next question for you was so we can you share about what the Tiki Factor is? Because
Oh,
we touched a bit on that, but let's know about what's the Tiki Factor.
the Tiki Factor is my name. My name is spelled Tiki,
Yes.
and I put it in an acronym. And the T stands for total commitment.
Mm,
Make a total commitment to your life.
right.
The next thing is the I. I need you to live from your imagination and not your history. Uh,
Mm,
and the next thing is the K is kindred spirits. The people around you affect you.
yes.
And the last I is invest. You must invest in yourself. How much time have you invested in yourself during this pandemic?
Wow.
So when you come out, are you prepared to be a different version of yourself? So
Mm,
what's your mindset? So the Tiki Factor is T, total commitment,
yeah.
I, imagination, K, kindred spirits, and I, invest in yourself.
Wow.
And I'll apply those simple principles to my life.
Mm,
And that's kind of how I apply it to the rest of the world to make the global impact because a lot of people, we live in a world of curriculum. How can I apply it to my life? So I came up with that formula so people can use it step by step
yeah.
to implement it into their life of success.
This is so good. So total commitment,
Mhm.
imagination, kindred spirit, and investment. I
Right.
so we have one question for you.
Hmm.
Before you go, from Coach ID said everybody that is successful has a why. What
Hmm.
drives you?
What drives me is failing. Is going back to where you came from. It's easy to quit. The drive, the why is it's bigger than me. It's
Mm,
a young boy that's in the projects that I can go and talk to and say, I was you.
yes.
And so he can look at me and look up to me and say, hey, man, if Tiki did it, so can I. The reason why I wanted to share my story wasn't for fame or fortune because I was already in a position of financial security. The reason I went out and did it is to help that young kid in the ghetto that mom died in prison, daddy wasn't around, um, got into the criminal justice system. I want to show them a version of positivity. I want to give them a version of hope. But a lot of times these young black kids or young Latino kids or young white kids in general need to see what it looks like. They
Mm.
need to see what it looks like, and not with shooting a jump shot or running the ball or rapping on the record. They need to see a real life business person that pivot in the oil and gas business, pivot in real estate. Traditionally, what you see a color of non-black in this area where I'm from, because the population where I live from is black is 3%.
Wow,
So
so good.
you may have people in the rest of the world that's doing what I'm doing, but in my area, I'm the only guy. So I wanted to, like you said, community leader.
Yes,
I wanted to let them know that it was possible. So it wasn't so many things that they couldn't come to me with and ask, "Can you do this?" Like, how did you make it from the ghetto to Hollywood and
yes,
star in the movie? The reason I did that is I took what I had. I
yes,
had a role as an extra, and I did that role for 1 month until an open audition came, and I auditioned for the role, and I won the role in the movie. So it's preparation meet opportunity. So everything that I ever got in my life, I was preparing.
yes. So, Dr. Tiki, I know
Hmm.
you said nobody celebrates you, but we're here to celebrate you. Happy birthday. Happy
Thank
birthday.
you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you
And
for being here. We're so excited, and you have been such a blessing in the past 1 hour.
hmm
I want you to know that we love you very much. And of course, thank you for the work that you do,
thank you.
for showing up here. Thank you for continuing to be an impact to people's lives.
hmm
So I just thought I was going to surprise you with that.
All right, thank you. I enjoy it, man, and I really appreciate it.
Yes.
Hmm
So my final question for you here would be
hmm
talking to the entrepreneurs right now
hmm
who are at home, who are of course are troubled about the pandemic. What would you say to that entrepreneur, of course, who feels like they're failing, who feels like I don't know what my next steps should be. uh,
hmm
the numbers are not looking good, everything seems so bad. What do I do right now? So what would you say to that person at home?
Well, the truth of the matter is, and this might come off harsh a little bit, but ask yourself, are you really an entrepreneur? You see what I'm saying? Are you really an entrepreneur, or are you just saying that because you don't really want to get a real job? So with my own experience, when I started, I worked for somebody else until I saved up some money to try some different things. So right now, if you're in the current situation of working somebody else, it's okay, because it's steps to this. You can't go to step 10 if you haven't went to step 2 or 3.
Right.
So as you climb the ladder, there's no such thing as skipping a rug or skipping a step, because you're going to fall back down. So really go to yourself, look in the mirror and ask yourself, are you really an entrepreneur? Because a lot of people say they're entrepreneurs to say it to fit in to a mold or different things like that. But the question is, you got to ask yourself, are you really an entrepreneur? So if you're in the red or the green, and really, honestly, let me give you a good question here. That really being a true entrepreneur, it looks like this: up and down, because businesses look like that. So it's no season of always prosperity. It's going to be a season of low points. But in order to be prosperous, you got to make adjustments and
Mm,
know what your end game is, being an entrepreneur, a business person, or whatever else.
mm,
So master where you are currently before you try to go to the next level. Get the mirror. If it is your woman, if that mirror's in your purse, or your man, go look in that mirror and ask yourself that hard question: who am I really?
mm,
So my advice to entrepreneurs in general as a whole, ask yourself, are you really an entrepreneur? And that answer a lot of your questions, the reason you're struggling or not, or if that's really your gift. Are you trying to market or be something that you're not? You only can be who you are. So don't try to take a model or different things. You can take systems from different people, such as the Tiki Factor, and apply it to your life, but you can't become Tiki. You have to become the best version of the Tiki Factor in your own life, and
mm,
you can be more successful or less successful. It doesn't matter. It's not about successful. It's operating in your gift, in your gift.
mm, mm. This is so good. Yeah. This is Congresswoman Chica says this is a must rewatch. Yes. And we had some comments from Melissa. Thank you so much
hmm
for joining us. Mary Isiber, it's good to have you here from Nigeria. And there are a lot more people, of course. If I cannot I haven't mentioned your name. It's just because you're not directly on my page, but I
Right.
really appreciate your making out time to be here. Thank you so much. We have Dr. Tiki in the house, and there's been tons and tons of nuggets. You want to watch this video again? I'm
Right.
going to do that, because I want to be listening to this video again. There's so much that I'm going to take out from here. And Dr. Tiki, I'm not going to let you go without us speaking about the work that you're doing with providing
Mm-hmm.
shelter.
Providing what?
Shelter for those, yeah,
Oh,
for
well, what for
people.
ex-offenders and different things like that.
Exactly.
So, what I'm trying to do right now is just not for adult offenders, also for juvenile offenders. I'm coming up with a reentry facility such as a halfway house for these guys to get out of prison, have a great opportunity to readjust to society. But
Yes.
really, my target area is from the boys from the age of 17 to 27.
Mm,
That real uh, vital time in their life. We
yeah.
don't want these kids to at 17 get their life thrown away,
Mm,
because at 17 most kids are not mature enough to understand they have their whole life ahead of them. And
that's
even at 27, that's still a young age. They still got a whole life ahead of them. So
yeah.
what I want to do, if I'm speaking from experience, I want to come in and really make an impact and help, so they don't have to go down the roads many of these men went down, or when they get out of prison, if they do go down that road, to give them an opportunity.
Mm,
And another thing that we want to do is, and this is might be a little bit more closer to my heart, is having a group home for young kids that can have a transition. Say, for instance, like my mother, she wasn't a stable parent. So, wasn't she was a bad parent, she just wasn't stable. And she still was dealing with her own demons. So, while she gets her life together, this is going to be a transitional home for the young kids to have somewhere to stay, shelter, food, clothing, and while their parents get their life in order versus going into the foster care system, get their parents' life together so your kids can go back with you.
yes.
And so we'll be getting with donors and different people, businesses that donate to this cause to fund this house to help the kids. And so I have a board of directors, different people that run this organization for me,
Mm,
and it'll be called the Factor House. Both of them are going to be called the Factor House, but they're going to be serving two different groups. One going to be serving ex-offenders, and another's going to be serving a group of kids.
yes.
And so that's a way that I want to give back to the community. I want to give back to people to give them a second chance, because we all make mistakes. If you have never made a mistake, raise your hand. So no one should raise their hand, because everybody's made mistakes.
That's true.
And, and the thing about Tiki Davis, Tiki Factor, whatever, I'm a man of many mistakes.
Mm,
And so I'm no better than anyone. I'm just a mistake that never gave up.
that's true.
And so I just continue to work, and I want to let people see what's possible with hard work and perseverance, because the mistakes made me who I am.
Mm,
I'm not who I am without the mistakes that I made, the slaps on the hand, the denial. I'm stronger because of the no's. I'm
yes.
stronger because of the no's.
Mm,
And when you get that yes, you're gonna appreciate it a lot more. And the thing about it is, every time I got a yes, I hit a home run.
yes.
Every time somebody believed in me, it was because I had this rage and this anger built up for so long. For everybody that told me no, when somebody give me a yes, I want to prove everybody that everybody that said no, that was wrong about me. Kind of just like in pro sports,
Yes.
when a guy that was projected to be a top draft pick that fell down in the draft, and he was supposed to thought in his mind he should have been the number one or number two pick, and
Mm,
he ends up being pick number 25.
mm,
That's kind of how I see the life of the Tiki Davis. I was passed over, or not picked at all. So I was a free agent person that had to walk on to an opportunity,
mm,
or a company. Like I went in the back door and start at the bottom feeder of washing cars. So now when I employ people, they don't really know my story or whatever. They says, well, Tiki, you never washed dishes. Or Tiki, you never mowed the grass, or you never painted the restaurant, or you never did these things. When I lick to them and I pull them kindly to the side, or they get to know me a little bit more, I've done all that and some.
yes.
So before I ever owned the building or owned the business, I
Mm,
built it.
yes. Yes. Wow. This is so good. Dr.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those moments where I just feel like screaming and just shouting, because I've had really great
Right.
comments from you today, and I just want to say thank you for the work that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Continue to be an inspiration, and welcome UK. We have so many people who are joining us from different parts of the world. Thank you so much, all of you, for making out time to be here. Thank you. And Dr. Tiki has got a book and a movie that is
Mm-hmm.
coming up very soon. And I
Mm-hmm.
want to believe that Dr. Tiki, when the book and movie is out, we can have it on the show
Mm-hmm.
as soon as it's out here, because we would love to read, this book. I know it's
Right.
powerful. It's going to be great. It's going to be so much to.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When the book and the movie come out, hopefully that's in the next few years, and we're working with some great producers and a great team of people that's skilled to do that. But
Yeah.
right now, once the pandemic clears up, if you have any interest in me coming to your city or anything like that, we do have a short film that's already complete, and we offer that movie. It's called The Factor Film. That's a movie that I produced myself,
Okay.
and it's a very good short film movie. It's only a 12-minute movie, but it's great. And now we're going to work on a full length movie that should be in the movie theaters that everybody can see around the world in the near future.
Okay.
And the things like that is just the humble heart, and that's a God thing.
Mm,
That's a patient thing.
mm.
And now that I'm the age that I am now, I have a little bit more patience. I see things the full scope.
Yeah.
Like you have people say, if you live long enough, you'll see things a little bit different.
Yes.
So I'm a middle-aged man. I've seen a few things. My experience has been great,
Yes.
and I really want to help people. So as I close out, I will run down how you can apply this to your life. If you're just jumping on, you want the notes. I came up with the formula called the Tiki Factor.
Mm,
That's my brand. It's my name.
yes.
Tiki. T, total commitment.
Mm-hmm.
I, imagination.
Mm,
K, kindred spirits. And I, invest in yourself.
mm.
And that's the Tiki Factor. Simple principles to anything that you're trying to do. If you're trying to pivot in the pandemic, if
Yeah.
you're trying to build your brand, if
Yeah.
you're trying to become a first time entrepreneur, just
Mm,
make a total commitment to your life.
yes. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I want you to know that Dr. Tiki is on social media. And so
Hmm.
you can follow him on Instagram. He's right here on Facebook. You can see him on Facebook. He's on Google. So if you forgot all of that, just get on Google and you should be able to find him.
Hmm.
And Dr. Tiki, I would get some information about the movie. Of course, I'm very interested with the
Hmm.
movie. Especially sending them to other countries is so important.
All right.
People want to see that, and
Hmm.
we have a few programs that are coming up, and I think that
Oh,
will
yeah.
be powerful, and it's short. It's just 12 minutes, so that would be
Right.
wonderful to share with the next generation leaders. All right, so everyone, I want to say a big thank you to you. It was so awesome serving you this afternoon. We had visitors from different parts of the world, all my friends from Bangladesh and
Hmm.
Malaysia. I really appreciate you, because I know that this is like 2 a.m. your time and you still stayed up to be here on the show. That simply means that you found value with what we're sharing. And I want to say big thank you to all those who are always here, because without you, the show would not go on. And of course, Dr. Tiki, thank you. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for spending your day with us. And I will be watching this video again, and we look forward to having you in the near future when you have a moment in your busy schedule to have you back on the show. But thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. I'll see you again on Friday. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.